Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the SNY studios. I'm Steve Gelbs alongside Willie Colon. Happy to have you aboard for SNY's special coverage of the introductory press conferences of the new Jets general manager and head coach. That is Darren Mougey at GM and Aaron Glenn, former Jets first-round draft pick, the 22nd head coach in Jets history. Willie, great to see you again.
Yes, sir.
We talked a lot about this throughout the season. Who's it going to be? Let's talk specifically about Glenn before we send you out there. What are your initial thoughts on the hire?
I was extremely happy about it. When I got to the Jets in 2013, he was in the scouting department. I knew about the ball player, obviously, but when he was in the building, a lot of people talked about him in high regard. If you look at his work with the Detroit Lions, when he got to Detroit, this defense was giving up 27 points a game. Even this year, with all the injuries, they were only giving up 20 points a game. So he knows how to coach. He knows the X and O's. And what I love about him is that he's a hands-on coach, too, which speaks volumes to a guy who doesn't just want to sit there with a whistle on the clipboard. He wants to get one-on-one with guys and really explain the game and really get to know the man in the helmet. And he's done a great job thus far doing that.
All right, now I will preface this question by saying that whatever we hear in the introductory press conference doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah,
but it is something that is a first glimpse, I think, into what the new regime will look like. Is there anything in particular that you do want to hear from either the GM or the head coach?
Well, I think from Aaron Glenn, we've talked about it on the show. He's going to have to really, first of all, it's going to be a Herculean task after this season. He's walking into a locker room that had so much expectations on what this season was supposed to look like. We talked about it firsthand. You talk about the lull with Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed pretty much saying at the end of the season he wants out. What's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? And really trying to really pump confidence into the locker room that wants to win. They just don't know how to right now.
All right, for the first time as head coach and GM, let's send you out to Florham Park. One Jets Drive, here from Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn.
Whoa, look at this group. Oh, it's great. Welcome. It's great to have all you, the vets, staff, media. My brother Chris was very helpful in this whole process. Team 33, Mike T, Mike Tannenbaum, Rick Spielman helped. Jaime, of course, and a lot of other people in the building helped in this long process. Selecting these guys, we got an early start, but we were very, very thorough and fair to everybody. We said the same. We had the 3-hour interviews, and each one of those interviews was the same. So we went through 15 candidates for each one of these gentlemen, and needless to say, when they came back for their second interview, it was pretty apparent to us who the leaders were, but we just wanted to verify it. I will say that the candidates we picked are all excellent coaches and general manager candidates. They really are. The fact that these guys emerged at the top, and it's a clear top, was really a credit to them and how they performed and their history and all the accomplishments that each one of them had in different ways. So I'm going to start with Darren. Darren started, he actually put on a pro uniform. It may have been for a day or two, but listen, it's more than 99.99% of the American population of football players that want to play this game. Anyway, when he realized he wasn't going to be a first-string quarterback, I think he might tell you the story, he went to coach a high school team as an assistant just to help for that year. Then he went to intern. He went to the Broncos and asked for a job. And obviously he was convinced that he got that job. And in 12 years, he worked his way up to assistant general manager. And he was involved in all phases of the general manager job, which is absolutely an enormous undertaking for any one individual. It's a really, really big. Now you have to pick players, and you have to manage that process, which is very, very complicated. We asked him all these questions for I don't know how many hours, at least 3 hours, plus a second one, maybe another 3 hours. And he really had a good, we were so impressed by his organization and his ability to pick out players, both college and pros, and that's really the heart of the matter. That's really what you have to be good at. And the second thing that we really admired about Darren was his understanding of the relationship between the general manager and the head coach. It's the most important thing because the general manager has to understand what kind of player they're looking for. The general manager has to do a job of trying to find that player. He has to manage all those scouts we have too, and how do you harvest all those good ideas, challenge your scouts to give you better info, and then make the decision for the best interest of the team and the best interest of the head coach as well, and what he's looking for. Now, Aaron Glenn, yeah, I just remember him as a player. He I think he was drafted first round by the Hess family. I met the Hess family a couple days ago. We were down in Washington, D.C., and I asked them about Aaron. They said, oh, yeah, we lucked out on that one. He's a first-round pick. And, you know, the interesting thing about first-round picks, who knows whether they're going to be good? You really don't know. But he is a first-round pick all the way through his career up till today. Really is. Everything he's done is exemplary. And, you know, if I were writing a how-to manual on how to be a head coach in the National Football League, I would take his career and his curiosity and his dogged determination from a player to a scout for the Jets to other team. He was in another team, and then taking a shot at a team that hadn't won in how many decades? The media will know, but a number of decades, probably 3 or 4 or 5 decades, and taking that team with the head coach and the offensive coordinator and turning it into something that was really exciting to watch. So I think today we're blessed to have these two gentlemen here among us, as we are to have all of you here too. So this is a very happy day for the New York Jets, and you'll be hearing from these guys soon. So congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for those kind words, Mr. Johnson. And good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I also want to start out by thanking Mr. Johnson, Christopher Johnson, the search committee, Jaime, Mike Tannenbaum, Rick Spielman. I thought it was a great process, and I really enjoyed my time getting to know you guys throughout that time. It is one of the greatest honors and privileges of my life to be named General Manager of the New York Jets. This is a proud franchise with great tradition and incredibly passionate fans located in one of the most iconic cities in the world. I could not be more excited to take on this responsibility with AG as we work to build a championship team that will make the Jets fans proud. And there is not a better leader for this team than AG. And I want to tell a story. I got the opportunity a few years ago. We were going through a head coaching search in Denver with the Broncos, and we interviewed AG. And at the end of the interview, I'd ask the candidates, I'd say, so when we get in that first team meeting, what's that message going to be? What's it going to sound like? What's it going to look like? And most of the candidates would kind of just talk about their philosophies or something. And AG said, you want me to do it? And I said, well, if you're comfortable, let's see it. Let's do it. So he pushed back. He sat up, and he delivered a powerful message. Like when he finished, we're all kind of looking around like, wow. And as we went on through the search, because he was one of the first guys we interviewed in that search, we kept going back to it like, damn, AG killed that thing. Like, that was pretty good. We hadn't seen that. Fast forward a few years later, Thursday, I'm sitting in his office and we're talking, and instantly I'm feeling that again, that passion, the passion for the game, the passion and the care for the players, the fans, his football acumen. It was instant. And we got to talking about this Jets team and the vision and the franchise, and we were in lockstep right out the gate. Same vision. We were speaking the same language. So I can't wait to work this partnership and bring a Super Bowl back to the New York Jets. Every successful team has alignment with its leaderships, and it starts at the top with ownership. It includes the head coach and the GM and the president to build a world-class organization. And we have that here with the Jets, and you guys will see it. Getting to know Mr. Johnson and Christopher throughout this process, it's clear that the Jets ownership is fiercely competitive, cares deeply about the players and the fans, and is committed to winning. I felt that in the interview process each time we met. Jaime, I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I'm going to lean on you a lot like I have today. And I look forward to working with you to engage our staff, the great Jets alum, some are here today, the community, our partners, and our great fans. As the GM of the Jets, I will lead our personnel staff as we acquire, develop, and work to retain players that fit our team and culture, and we will do this in complete partnership with the coaches. Our philosophy will be to draft, develop, keep our own, and be disciplined and strategic in free agency. There is no more important part of any sports organization than the players, period. It's about the players. And we have a good foundation of players here right now that we're going to continue to add to, and we're going to give those players everything they need to be successful and reach their potential. There will be accountability across each department and a high standard as we look to win not only now, but from now on. And lastly, I want to thank and recognize a few people who supported me along the way. And that starts with my wife, Hannah, and our 2 kids, Emma and Marlo, who I know are at home watching. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today because the flu hit us 2 days ago, right as we were about to take off for New York. But I know they're at home watching. And without their sacrifices and support, I wouldn't be here today. I love you guys. I miss you. I can't wait to see you. I also, of course, have to thank my mom, Linda. I lost my dad at an early age, and my mom stepped up and supported me throughout all my ups and downs. To my mom, my siblings, and my dad looking down on us, I love you all. And of course, I want to thank the Denver Broncos, who took a chance on me as a scouting intern about 13 years ago. I learned a lot during my time in Denver, working with George Payton, John Elway, and supporting a lot of great football coaches, some of the best in the business. The Broncos are in great hands with owners Greg Penner, Kerry Walton Penner, Rob Walton, and I wish them the very best. Except for when we play them this year, of course. And finally, to the Jets fans, you have my word that AG and I are going to pour our heart and souls into this job and do everything we can to get a Super Bowl back to this team. Thank you.
I wear glasses now. Before I actually get started into my my thank yous, I want to say that I got to thank God. I would not be standing here if it weren't for Him. So I want to make sure I acknowledge that. My biggest influence in my life were my parents. My dad passed years ago. And when it comes to work ethic, that's where I got it from. I'm talking about 4 in the morning until the job is done. And that's what you're going to see from me. My mother, nurturing, sacrifice, raising 11 kids. 2 of them played for this franchise, my brother Jason. Learned so much from her, and also how to lay the law down also. My mom was good at that, so I want to thank them. My backbone, my wife of 28 years, Devney Glenn. I could not be in this position without you. My rib, you're special. You're special. My 3 kids, my son, Aaron II, my daughter Tristan, my daughter Reagan. They should be coaching because they know this game just as well as I do. And they are the best kids that you can have. And listen, we're in this battle together like we always been. We are a football family. We love it, we sleep it, we breathe it, and that won't change. There's nothing better than that. To have a family that understands exactly how you operate and what you do. I love it. Woody and Christopher, your commitment to winning is clear. And I look forward to the conversations to continue to live that. Thank you guys. Jaime, our partnership is going to be something special. And we're going to make decisions that's best for this organization. There are a number of football people that helped me get to this spot. First off, my agent, Jimmy Sexton. My advisor, my friend, Amy. Where you at, Amy? Man, came in this league in '94, been together ever since. And nothing's going to break that bond. I appreciate you. Darryl Wade, my high school coach. He took me on my first visit to visit college. He's like my second dad. I love him to death. Bill Parcells, who I think is the best coach to ever coach this game. He's taught me a ton and just to be in his presence was something special for me. Al Groh, another coach that's been the coach of this team. I go and visit Al Groh every offseason and continue to get knowledge. And I'll tell you what, for him to allow me to be in a house with him and his family, to continue to just watch tape after tape after tape and continue to study this game has been special to me. Al, I appreciate you. Sean Payton, here's the one thing I will tell you I got from Sean. So I go to the New Orleans Saints, and we were a solid team. But then we start winning year after year after year. Sean taught me what sustained winning is all about. Sustained winning. Dan Campbell, outstanding man. Going to Detroit with Dan, we were at the very bottom. Woody said it. But you know what we did? We took it up to the top. So here's the one thing in my last 9 years I was able to do, is be able to take a team from the top and reach the pinnacle, and then also be able to sustain that. And that's what we're going to bring here to this team. My man Darren. Bro, we're in this thing together. Again, we met years ago. I had a feeling. And to now, see that it comes to this. It's outstanding. We're going to do some magical things here, bro. Some magical things. I look forward to it. To the former players, my guys, listen, I would not be here without you men. The expectations hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. The blood, sweat, and tears that we shared on that field has been valuable to my success. I love you guys. To any players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges becomes opportunity, gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit. Listen, I want this job. I interviewed for a number of them, but I wanted this job. When I was going to my second interview, I want to make sure this is going to be the second interview. It's going to be the first of the second interviews, because I didn't want to leave the building without shaking Woody's hand and make sure we had a contract. So I'm just telling you now, everything else was really out of it. It was all about the Jets, and it's been that way from the beginning. The organization, we've already talked. I respect every little thing that you do, because this is bigger than me. It's going to take us all. It's going to take us all to accumulate wins, and I look forward to working with you. Just a couple of things I want to nip in the bud before we get to the Q&A. Listen, I came on Wednesday. Well, I got the job on Wednesday. Mougey came and got the job on Saturday, and we came here on Sunday, and we started talking. Here's what I do know. Aaron Rodgers will be talked about. It will be talked about. We've already texted that communication with Aaron Rodgers. And as we continue to look at the roster, we'll make decisions accordingly. And that's with a number of people, right, on the team. I look forward to this. I look forward to it. It's going to be a great ride. It really is. There's nothing better than having your start here as a player, here as a scout, and now here as a head coach. And I'm ready for it. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll take some questions from the media and the audience. If you raise your hand, there'll be a mic that will come around, and we could begin the Q&A here with the two gentlemen up here. Right over here, guys.
I go.
Yeah.
A question for Aaron. Since you brought it up a moment ago, with Aaron Rodgers, what is going to be your process as a coach to determine if he's going to be your quarterback next year?
Well, me and Mougey is going to sit and talk and just go over the whole roster. And I will tell you now, that's going to be the answer to a number of questions when it comes to the roster in general. So We're looking forward to that process. I can't tell you how long that process will be, but the thing is, we're going to make sure we get the right answer. And we're not going to rush to this answer, because we're going to get the right answer.
Aaron, Connor Hughes, SNY, you made it pretty clear you wanted to be here. So what about this organization specifically drew you here more than anything else?
First off, and I said it before, this is where I started. And you can't write a better story than that, because this has been my start for a number of situations. Again, as a player, as a scout, and now as a head coach. And you can't write that story no better than that. So hopefully this will be my last stop. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Right over here.
Aaron, Darren, congratulations to you both. Aaron, I want to start with you. My name is Crystal Rich, WCBS. I want to take you on a little trip down memory lane. You spoke about your time here as a player. Yeah. Your third season, you guys had that one-win season, but quickly turned things around, 9-7 in '97, and then went to 12-4 and had a playoff win. Yeah. What is it about that time? What did you learn in that time about culture building and changing a culture that you spoke about? To give you the exact words, you said sustained winning. What have you learned about that, and have you used that in your coaching career? That is a great question. If I go back to my first 2 years, I think we were 2-14 and 1-15 the following year. Bill Parcells comes in, and he just totally brought a different mentality and different people. And to me, that's what really changed the culture. And here's what I learned. I can stand in front of a group of men, and I can give as many rah-rah speeches as I can. But culture is about people and getting the right people in the building. And I saw that firsthand with what Bill Parcells did. And that's why the turnaround was so fast. Again, we went 9-7 the next year. We went to the playoffs and we lost. And I will say this. Let me go. Here's another thing, and you men would know this here. Another reason why. In '98, we played the Denver Broncos. We're out there and we are winning 10-0 in the first half. We come back in the second half. They kick the ball off. Wayne, you remember this. It was windy. The ball stops midair, and they recover it. And they scored 2 touchdowns. I'll be damned if I'm not going to come back here and get that back. And that's one of the reasons why.
Brian.
Hey, Aaron, Brian Costello, New York Post. A lot of times people talk about coaches holding players accountable. What's your philosophy in terms of being hard on players versus, loving them up and being a quote-unquote players coach?
Well, to me, there's no such thing as accountability without responsibility. So it's my job to make sure that I let them know, what is your responsibility? And once they understand that, and then they know they have to be accountable for that. So it's not like I'm the one that have to tell them that you're wrong. They know it. So we set that standard up front. And players want that. They've been like that ever since college. They've been structured. So it's my job to make sure I set that structure. And after I said it, I hold them accountable for that. And they understand it.
Over here, Bruce Beck.
Aaron, Bruce Beck, NBC4 New York, congratulations.
Thank you.
You talked about sustained success. I think the fans just want success, any kind of success. How do you get there?
Well, I know sustained success, and that's what we're looking for, because I've lived it. And it's going to take hard work. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take us as coaches to make sure we teach and continue to teach. The small things about this game is what really wins games. The smartest teams win games. Situational awareness win games. It's our job as coaches to make sure we do that, because that's the difference between winning and losing, is the small things that we got to get ready to teach. So that's the sustained success that we'll have.
Antoine.
Hey, Antoine Staley, New York Daily News. I just want to go back to your journey as a scout in 2012, and just, how did that help you land this position today? And just also, did you imagine that you would be in this position now, years from there?
Well, I'll tell you a story exactly how that happened. So 2008, I retired. I take 2 years off to try to be the best dad I can be.
taking kids to school and spending time with my wife. And I can recall looking at ESPN, and I forgot who was playing, but I am cursing the TV out. And my wife tells me, baby, go coach. Go coach. It was like a weight off my shoulders because that's my passion. And it's okay to want to be a coach. Back then, I felt like I wanted to be a businessman, but I'm a football guy. And once she told me that, I got right in coach. I called Bill Parcells and told him I want to coach. He said, no, you're not going to coach. You're going to scout. I said, I don't want to scout. He said, well, that's what you're going to do because I think you have a chance to be a head coach. And the best head coaches are really the guys that are best evaluators. So I took his advice, probably the best advice I've had since coming back in this league. So understanding how to do it from an in-house perspective and then actually going on the road to be a college scout, to be able to evaluate every position. It helped me tremendously to be in this position.
Last one right here, Zach.
Hey, Zach Rosenblatt from The Athletic. For Darren, actually. I was wondering what are some of the key tenets that you look for and when you're building out a team, the kind of team you want to build, the players you're looking for? Like, what are kind of the things you're looking for?
I mean, makeup is very important. And AG and the staff and I are going to actually start those conversations tonight because I think that is a collective, collaborative approach on what we are going to look for in each player, from makeup to physical traits. And we're working that process right now.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Mougey, you got off a little easy today.
I did. Yeah, I like that. Thank you.
We're going to break down, do some photos, and then we'll do group interviews. Print will be down here, and we'll do the TVs up top. Thanks, everybody, for coming today.
All right, back in our SNY studios, Willie Colon, Steve Gelbs. That was Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn, new GM and head coach of the New York Jets. We'll be back out to Florham Park, get some one-on-one interviews in the next half hour or so here. But listen, I said right before we threw out there, you can't tell that much from a press conference. The answers don't really matter. I'm going to rescind that. I mean, especially with Aaron Glenn. Like the tone, if you're a Jets player, fan, you want to run through a wall right now.
You're right. And I sat here cranked up because it's what we needed, that passion, that fire, that hey, man, we're coming to go get this thing. We're not trying to just dwell and figure this thing out along the way. It's written all over Aaron Glenn's face that he's coming to win. He's coming to make this thing go. And he talked about his genesis of being a player, on to being a scout, and now he's the head coach. But he's gone through a lot. Even I think during his time with the Detroit Lions, you know, when you watch him on the sideline with his guys don't talk to him just as a coach. They talk to him like somebody they know, they're familiar with. And people understand, if he didn't land his job with the Jets, he was going to go to New Orleans, right? Because he also played and coached there as well. And there's a passion and a relationship in that building for him and with him. I think right now, when you talk about winning the press conference, he did it, right? And he did it in a multitude of ways. Body language, direction, and being deliberate and having a plan of attack. And I think when you talk about being a player in that locker room right now, you should feel refreshed, and you should feel like, man, we finally got a guy that knows ball, has played ball, knows ball, and seen ball on all different levels, man. And so I was fired up listening to it. I was like, hell with the tie, let's go. Because the Jets needed it. You know, we said at the end of the season with Barton and Connor, and man, we leave depleted because our hopes, and valid, me and Barton different because we played, but our hopes and our expectations are so big because with this roster and with Aaron Rodgers, man, this team should have been in the playoffs. Right now, I'm not talking about the last year, right now with the team they had. And so the fact that they weren't, and the fact that it seemed to kind of snowball game after game, and the fact that we walked out of this season like, we're done. Our will and our passion for cheering this team on felt like it was all depleted. So if there was a jolt of energy and passion, Aaron Glenn just delivered that. Yeah, and I think one of the other things that we talked a lot about, not just this year, but over the last number of years, is the seeming lack of accountability in that room. And I think, sometimes this question was kind of asked to Aaron Glenn, too, about the line of being a player's coach and a disciplinarian. And I think when you listen to Glenn, it's more nuanced than that, right? Sure. You can be a player's coach by instilling a level of respect and accountability. And
it is very clear that if you're playing for Aaron Glenn, there are not going to be any coasters anymore. There's not going to be anything that you don't understand what your role is, what your responsibility is. And he may be a player's coach on that level, but he'll get on you if you don't.
Well, I've seen multiple interviews with him, and he's come out and said, listen, when it comes to culture is fed, but the players lead that culture, right? They police that culture. And I think right now the Jets are in a situation where we don't know what the culture is. We know there's a lot of good men in that locker room. There's a lot of people who care about ball, but because they haven't been able to win, people are like, man, then what is it worth? And I think right now, Aaron Glenn, once again, having played, been with Dan Campbell, coached multiple guys, I think right now he knows he has to really attack the youth of that locker room, right? You're talking about the Sauce Garners, the Quentin Williams. You're talking about, Sherwood is a free agent this year, if they're able to get him back. And also try to get DJ Reed back in there because he's a stud cornerback who really adds balance to that defense. So you're talking about a guy that knows he has a lot ahead of him, but he has to get those guys on that roster believing that they can win in New York again. And and if you just simply was sucking your thumb and sulking right now, you're now calling your buddies on the phone. Hey, we got a guy. Yeah. We got a guy right now. We're going to be okay. Let's get back to work.
Yeah, and here's Aaron Glenn's resume. Obviously spent the last 4 seasons as the defensive coordinator with Detroit, but you heard it from Glenn that his home was here with the Jets. He was a first-round pick in 1994, said he started his career here, and he wants to end his career here. That's how he looks at it, coming full circle, and he wants to be here for the long haul. And I think, again, as great as that press conference was, we won't know anything for a few months. Sure, right? I'm going to back.
That's fair. That's fair.
But there are reasons to feel optimistic. And I think one of those reasons is his history here with the Jets and how badly he wanted not any job, but this job. Because as you've mentioned, Willie, there's a lot that comes with this job. There's a lot with the media. There's a lot with the history. There's a lot of disappointment with the fan base. And Aaron Glenn is going in eyes wide open. He wants to be here. He wants to turn this around. He mentioned 1998 being up 10-0 at halftime in the AFC Championship game against the Broncos, that he's coming back here to avenge that. He wants to get that back. I think that matters when you're looking at the task in front of him to turn such a moribund franchise around.
We were tired of looking at head coaches looked absolutely exasperated, right? Just from everything that New York brings as far as a media standpoint, dealing with the X and O's on the field that wasn't coming into play. And also, let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers wore his team out. For 2 years, it's been an Aaron Rodgers show. We dealt with Zach Wilson, now Aaron Rodgers, and nothing has come into fruition. So now if you're Aaron Glenn and you're looking at this team, say, hey, man, Aaron is going to be a part of the puzzle, but he will not control the ship. We're going to have to build this roster from top down and really get guys in here that can play at a high level. Because if you're looking at the division as a whole, New England's going to be better with Drake May, and they got a new head coach. Buffalo Bills, they just lost in the AFC Championship. The Dolphins will be better, right? And so if you're the Jets with this roster and everything you got in front of you, how can you get better? You got to get a coach that can coach, Aaron Glenn. You got to figure out Aaron Rodgers. And can you get the face of this defense, right? I mean, as a whole, because at one point, the strength of this team was the defense. They took a load this year, right, for a number of reasons. Can you get that defense playing at a high level? And offensively, you have everything you need. It's just a matter of what happens with Aaron Rodgers. So I think if you're passionate about the New York Jets and you're passionate about the direction they're going, you got to be happy with the hire of Aaron Glenn, because it seems like, man, to want the job is one thing, but he came in this thing like, I'm surprised there wasn't a whistle around his name. Like he was ready to coach right there. So I'm happy, the body language, everything he said, it was all A+ for me.
Yeah, and you mentioned Aaron Rodgers, and I think that was another impressive thing. You get a lot of coaches that in this situation would kind of dance around it, and he didn't even get asked the question. He preempted the question and basically said, hey, we've already been in contact. We're going to make not just a decision, we're going to make the right decision. When we left this set after Week 18, it felt like the Aaron Rodgers era was over.
Felt like a funeral.
Right. Maybe his career was over. Does that feel any differently to you right now? Do you think that the odds have changed with this hire that Aaron Rodgers will be back, or are you still feeling similar to how you felt?
I think you highlighted it one time we was on the desk. When healthy, Aaron Rodgers can still play this game at a high level, right? And also Bart highlighted it too. Once Olu Fashanu got to the left tackle, protection got better. He seemed more comfortable. I think right now, as Aaron Rodgers pulls back the curtain, it really looks at him himself, and two, what this team looks like going forward, man. He could win here. But it can't be under Nathaniel Hackett, who will no longer be here, right? Whatever happens with Devontae Adams, he's going to have to approach this team as a guy who is valid. His resume is a Hall of Fame resume. He doesn't have any attachments. He's coming to be a football player. He's not bringing the Green Bay East over, right? All that is out the window. So, and from a health standpoint, does he think he can really get through the season? Because we saw when healthy, man, he was mobile. He seemed more confident delivering the football. He was able to buy some more time. But I think if he has the knick-knack injuries with the ankle and the knee and the hamstring, we saw his play go backwards. So I think it's really him versus him in this situation. But understand the Jets, don't give him that decision. It's about if they feel like he's worthy of being the quarterback for the New York Jets for the next season.
Now, I mentioned that one of the reasons for optimism with Aaron Glenn was his history with the Jets. It's also his history in general, and we showed the resume. But when you're looking at this Jets organization, this is one of the great attempted turnarounds that you're trying to make if you're the head coach. And he is well aware of what that looks like, not just as a coach. We did it with the Lions, right, over the last 4 years, but also as a player with the Jets. He was drafted in 1994, played a year for Pete Carroll, then was part of the 2 Kotite years that were as bad as can be. It was part of a 1-win season, and then Bill Parcells comes in, and Aaron Glenn is part of that turnaround. You heard Glenn talk about how close that relationship still is with Bill Parcells. How much do you think that matters, just again, being a part of it multiple times, the Jets, the Lions, the turnaround being that excessive?
Well, I think for instance, I mean, if you look at the Commanders, right, they got it right with Dan Quinn and obviously Jaden Daniels. And so if you're taking any energy and from that, you're saying, man, we're just a quarterback away and a head coach away from turning this thing around. That gives you the passion and the motivation to feel like the Jets can do it too. Overall, I think sometimes the reason for hard seasons is not solely the players, it's the scheme, right? It's the guys who are in the locker room to really do what's necessary on the field. I look at the Jets in this situation is they got to get confidence back in that building, especially with the players. And because there was a lot of dark clouds talking about, this team's cursed. To be as talented as they are, they shouldn't be in this position. I mean, at one point, this team was 3-9, neck and neck with the Carolina Panthers. And the Carolina Panthers have a lot of reasons for be bad, but they even finished the season on a high note. So I think pumping more confidence into this locker room, figure out what you're going to do with Aaron Rodgers, and understand that whatever's behind you is behind you. This is a new season. A new head coach is going to be a new team. And you have to approach it that way. Everything that's happened in the past, it's ugly, right? It's well documented, but it's in the past. They got to move forward and kind of dump everything behind them and realize they got a new head coach.
All right, once again, in case you're just joining us, new head coach, new general manager of the New York Jets, Aaron Glenn, 22nd head coach, and Darren Mougey, the new general manager of the New York Jets. We expect to go back out to Florham Park at some point here soon. Janae Coakley will be on site with interviews, one-on-one interviews with both of those men, hopefully. And I say both of those men because there was a second person that was introduced. Aaron Glenn kind of overshadowed everything. Yeah. But, Darren Mougey, not many people know much about him. I'll be honest, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about him. 39 years old, so he's on the younger side. You would expect maybe more into some of the new age stuff, pushing things forward in a way that the Jets haven't gone in a while. But this is somebody that the one thing that stands out to me about Mougey is he's got 12 years of NFL experience, all with the Broncos, but he has done a lot of different jobs, and he has shot up the ladder pretty quickly. Clearly somebody that has been highly regarded by the people that he worked with.
Yeah, it was interesting, too. Like, he was a part of that Super Bowl team, Super Bowl 50 with Peyton Manning, that Denver Broncos team. He was on that. He's a part of that ride, so he knows what winning football looks like. I think what's interesting about him, for a guy who just took on this role, a lot of people wanted him. The Broncos kind of blocked him because they realized how much of a star he was. I think him being not connected to AG helps, because now their relationship is now from ground one, right? This isn't a guy who I worked with and we kind of went along the way. This is a situation where now we're both tied to this thing, right? And you can see their relationship. They both gave each other like, this is your first gig, this is my first gig. It's all on us. And that's why the smiles you see, because they understand the pressure. We said here time after time, when you win in New York, it's different than anywhere else, right? Because of the attention, the star power that comes along with it, and understanding one word that was continuously said during that press conference was, sustainability, right? It's one thing to have one outbreak year, and a lot of people like, man, the Jets, they got to the playoff, thank God. But can they go back to back? That's why people respect the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills and the Steelers and all these organizations, because it's just not about cracking the seal. It's about coming back year after year and actually building. They understand that, and I think Glenn actually talked about it, and I think Mougey did a good job of really saying, hey, man, there's not too much we can say, right? Because whatever we say, it doesn't matter. We got to produce. And I think they both know that collectively. And, yeah, they can give you all the go win for the Gipper type speech. But if they're not producing, and they watch what happened to Robert Saleh, who was fired mid-season. They watch what happened to Joe Douglas, who is extremely respected as he became the GM with the Jets. And both guys are somewhere else. So they understand, as much as excited they are for being a part of this thing, they got to put out.
You know,
output
Willie,
matters.
I think it's a really good point you made, pointing out the fact that the talk was about sustained success, not just a one-off, because if you look at how the Jets have gotten into this rut, a lot of it has been because they've taken these quick fix shots, right? And they've tried the Band-Aids, try and get some veterans to come in and just get there, just get over the hump. And I think that listening to both of these men talk, maybe it doesn't inform what they're going to do with Aaron Rodgers, but overall, you get the sense that this is not going to be about just finding a way in next year. Every decision they make is going to be with an eye towards the future, and if Aaron Rodgers comes back, it will be less because maybe he's the best option next year, and more because they look at the landscape and say, hey, we can compete next year, and maybe he can bring a young quarterback along as well, but it won't be so much about, hey, we got to find a way next season to break this drought and try and win a Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, the Jets drafted Jordan Travis out of Florida State. And well, if he didn't break his leg, a lot of people felt like he would have been a top 20 pick. And you also, obviously, Tyrod Taylor, I apologize. He's obviously going to be, he's a bridge quarterback. People know who he is. But I think as far as Aaron Rodgers, he gives you the opportunity to compete with other A-list quarterbacks, right? And I think if you talk about where do the Jets move from an offense standpoint, you got to figure out what you're going to do with Garrett Wilson. Right, and you got to figure out how can we get Breece Hall, because we watched every running back in these damn playoffs, Gabs, eat, and we know for a fact we got a running back in Breece Hall.
Every time I watch an Eagles game now, I'm saying don't let Breece Hall be that guy somewhere else.
But you're right. I'm watching James Cook. I'm watching Pacheco. I'm watching all these guys tear up the field, and I'm like, man, I know Breece Hall can be that guy for them. So there's enough here. I think when you move forward with or without Aaron Rodgers, it's really, for me, and once again, I harp on this road, and I don't mean to be redundant, I'm tired of seeing guys like Quint Williams. I'm tired of seeing guys like who have been a part of this team for long enough, and you see the confidence seep out of their eyes, right? Because think about it, it's not the guys they don't want to win. I think these guys are balling as hard as they can, and the want-to is there. But when it doesn't equal in wins, man, time after time for the last 3 or 4 seasons, it's hard, man. And so I just want these guys to realize that football's fun, because you only have a short window to play this game. And when you look back, like Aaron Glenn, he could talk about the good days and he could talk about the bad days. But you don't want your career to be all bad days. And I'm watching these guys who are extremely talented, and they look lifeless because it doesn't make sense to them anymore, especially when you feel like you're doing your part. He's going to have to tackle that, and he's going to have to get these guys to being back to the superstars they know they can be.
Yeah, for me, I know all the talk is going to be about Aaron Rodgers, but we spoke about this too the last few weeks of the season. For me, if I'm Aaron Glenn and if I'm Darren Mougey, the first call I'm making is to Garrett Wilson and his camp.
100%.
Right? I mean, if I'm Aaron Glenn, I'm doing what I just did in that press conference, and I'm selling Garrett Wilson on why this is going to be different now. And if I'm Darren Mougey, I'm calling his agent and I'm saying, hey, we want you here long term. Let's get a deal done right now. That, to me, is the #1 priority.
And I thought it was smart for Woody to sign in with Aaron Glenn a 5-year deal instead of a 3 or whatever. It was like, no, we're really going to get it right. This is a 5-year deal. You're going to be our head coach. Let's get to work. I thought that was important, and it needed to be said.
Now, let me ask you this, because certainly in that moment, and it's always going to look this way, you've got 2 guys, and Mougey and Aaron Glenn, that are on the same page. But the Jets went about things in a somewhat unorthodox way, in that they hired the head coach before hiring the general manager. We've seen that. I mean, it's not the only team that does that, certainly. But let's talk about that in a little bit, because right now we are going to send it out to Florham Park. Our Janae Coakley is standing by with the new head coach of the New York Jets. It's Aaron Glenn.
So cool seeing Wayne here. All right, I am here with the new head coach of the New York Jets, Aaron Glenn. Aaron, how does that sound?
Still getting used to it. I really am, but I will get used to it. Listen, I'm looking forward to this opportunity. I want this job, like I said before, and me and Mougey are going to build something very special in this organization, so we're looking forward to it.
When did you know that you wanted to be the head coach of the New York Jets? I know you want to be a head coach, but when was it, you know, when I want the New York Jets?
When the job opening came free, it was very intriguing to me. I mean, obviously, the year had to finish out, and I knew they was going to be looking for a head coach. But I also focused on what we were doing in Detroit, that I wanted to make sure that we tried to get a Super Bowl there. And once that was over with, man, my sights went right on the Jets. And listen, I know that's tough to say because I interviewed for a number of teams, but I always knew this was the team I wanted to get the job with.
What was the most intriguing about it? Because you played here, or was it because you wanted to change things?
Well, that was part of it. And I said about the Denver game, when that brought me back. And I will tell you this, talking to Woody, man, he is committed to winning. He really is. And the continued conversations that we had just furthermore just told me how we're going to operate here. So there's going to be change. It will be from a number of levels. And we're looking forward to that. We are. We're within this building, support staff. There's going to be change. Every time you have a new coaching staff, there's going to be change. But we want to change the mentality of the fans also. Listen, get used to winning. That's all I've been a part of my last couple of years. And I don't want to do anything other than that. So winning is all I know.
How do you change that, though? How do you change a culture? Because you have been part of doing that.
Yes. Listen, rah-rah speeches don't change cultures. People do. And I experienced that with Bill Parcells. You bring the right people in with the right mentality, and everybody has a shared vision, you're going to win games. You get that right, you get the identity right, you're going to win games, and we expect to do that.
When you have a guy like a young guy like Garrett Wilson, and he's such a superstar, and
Yes.
sometimes you know he's unhappy or he's not, what do you say to a guy like that?
Listen, there's a number of things I can say. There's a number of things I want to make sure I keep between me and him. But just like I said before, listen, man, put your seatbelts on because this will be a good ride. And he enjoy it. I guarantee he will.
How important is it that you know the New York Jets, you know the culture, you know the city, you know what it's like to play here, and now you're the coach? How important is that?
It's nothing better than winning in New York City. I experienced that going from 97, 98, 99. I think we had an injury with Vinny. And just like winning here in this city, capturing this city, there's nothing like it. Listen, I did it in New Orleans, I did it in Detroit, but here in New York City, nothing better.
When you see your old teammates, the Wayne Corbett, these guys down there, what was it like? What did you guys talk about?
Listen, it was the competitive nature of those guys and the way that we went out and practice will be some of the things that we do here, you know, still. So it was outstanding. I enjoyed it. It was really good seeing those men. And I told them I'm going to lean on those. I need them, you know, because they know what it's like. And they know the expectation. So for those guys to be around, it was special to me.
What's it like going to be able to work with Darren, you two together, building this?
Listen, I met Darren 3 years ago. We both have changed when it comes to how we see things as far as players and all that. But the thing is, the vision that we see it is the same on how we build a team. And to me, that's special. And listen, we're not going to agree on everything. But when we come out of the room, it's going to be as one. And that's what I love about him. The respect that we have between each other is outstanding. So I look forward to working with him.
You talked about you guys have changed. What are some of the things how you've changed?
Well, understanding how to win, understanding how to sustain winning, understanding how to build a winner when it's down. When we were down in Detroit, I mean, those it was critical to me. And listen, every coach doesn't get that. And for me to have that for 9 years has been outstanding.
When you look at what you have now with this roster of New York Jets, what do you see?
Time to go. It's time to go. We have talent here, and the players know it too. So it's time for me and Mougey to make sure we foster that talent and go win games with it.
All right, look into the camera and tell New York Jets what they can expect from you as a head coach, because I know what they expect from you as a player.
Excitement, aggressive, and a let's go get a mentality.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Back to you guys.
All right, Janae, Aaron, thanks so much. And Janae mentioned it, by the way. Several former teammates and former New York Jets in attendance. Rich Cimini tweeted out, this is just, I don't know if it's the full list, but a lot of impressive names. Nick Mangold, Leon Washington, Damian Woody, Marty Lyons, Tony Richardson, Wayne Corbett, Fred Baxter, Rob Carpenter, Glenn Foley, and Dennis O'Sullivan. And again, I mean, you know, you can hear it. You understand that this is someone who is well respected, but to have that many former teammates come out to support you, that says something as well.
Well, I think for a lot of those guys, especially the Wayne Corbetts of the world, you know, they played with Aaron, right? So they know the man and they know the player, and they had some success when they were wearing the green and white. I think for every Jets head like me or Bart Scott, who had, you know, some fairly good times wearing that uniform, man, you just wanted to see it last, right? You want to see it to come alive again. You want to see a team that goes out and compete for all 4 quarters and play with pride. And I think Aaron wants to bring that in. And I think he has a good shot, especially with the support around him.
Yep. Well, one of the support people around him is Darren Mougey, the new general manager, who is standing by with Janae Coakley right now. Janae?
I'm here with Darren Mougey, who is the new GM of the New York Jets. How's it sound?
Sounds good. I'm excited.
What was it about the New York Jets job that stood out to you?
So many things, to be honest. It starts with the talent on this roster right now, the players. Ownership, had great meetings with them throughout this process. I felt their commitment and passion to this team, as I mentioned. And then AG. I've known AG can lead men for a long time now, and to get this opportunity to pair with him was a no-brainer.
I was going to say, when you see Aaron Glenn, what do you see in Aaron Glenn?
His leadership, his conviction, his passion, his ability to motivate, so many things.
What was it? What do you plan on doing next? What's the next step for you guys now that you're here? It's official.
A lot. There's a lot to do. But immediately, I mean, we're going to finish this, and tonight we're going to meet with the scouts and start going through our roster and hearing what they have to say about the roster. Obviously, some of these people here know better than we do right now, and we want to hear that. So I've said this like the last 2 weeks. I've been getting a lot of questions through the interview process. Now it's my turn to listen and take it all in.
There's obviously a lot of question marks around Aaron Rodgers, number 8, your quarterback position. You know, Aaron said he's going to work and talk about it. What's that process like for you guys?
Yeah, Aaron has his process. We want to respect that. And like I said down there, I got so much respect for Aaron and what he's done as a player in this league. And we'll have our process. I mean, I landed less than 24 hours ago. I was struggling to find my office this morning, so we got a lot to do. But we look forward to that, and that'll come at some time.
You got the scouting, you got the combine, you got Senior Bowl. Where you have off season, where do you go next? I know you guys are sitting together, but
yeah, we'll be here. You know, the Senior Bowl is going on this week. I'd like to get down there. I don't think I'll be able to, but I know our crew is down there working hard. Touch base with some of those guys. Going to talk to them tomorrow. So yeah, we'll hit the ground running and jump into it.
What has Aaron told you about being here in New York?
We haven't talked much about being here in New York as much as we've talked about the team philosophy and stuff, so I'm sure he'll give me some insight, though.
All right, I told everybody this who comes here, look into the camera and tell New York Jets fans what they can expect from you.
That I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this job, and AG and I are going to do everything we can to put a winning team back on the field and bring a Super Bowl back to the Jets.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, they might want to make Darren Mougey suit up again because he's about 8 feet tall. He could probably block some kicks.
Tall receiver.
I had no idea he was as tall, as he is. But listen, I want to continue now on the question that I was starting to ask before we got Aaron Glenn. So this is not the general manager hiring Aaron Glenn. Certainly seems like they're on the same page, but Glenn was hired first. In general, what do you think about doing it that way?
Well, I think what's interesting about this process is that I think Woody had to, hire the guy. We forget in 2019, Chris Johnson hired Robert Saleh. So I think Woody wanted to have more of a hands-on approach and really meet the man and get to know him. Because I think what we was surprised about some of the headlines that came out this year that Woody kind of went rogue, right? He started firing and really trying to make things shake, and things really didn't happen into the best situation for the Jets. Overall, I feel like Woody knows Aaron Glenn, not just from a player standpoint, from being in the scouting and being in the building. So I think that added a lot of comfort to Woody. And I also believe that he felt like, hey, man, I need help. And I think going to get Mike Tannenbaum and his people and really, really kind of combing this thing out and finding somebody who's going to be the best fit for the New York Jets, it seemed like Aaron Glenn, not only because he played here, knows the city, and knows what it takes to win in this city, I think that supplied a lot of comfort for Woody. And I think Janae hit it right on the head, man. What can you say to this fan base right now that's going to make them believe? Because 2 years or 3 years, especially after we lost Zach Wilson, and you told us we had Aaron Rodgers, man, we were going to the Super Bowl, right? Yeah. So. And I think Darren hit it kind of on the head. We can sit up here and give all the rah-rah speeches, win for the Gipper, but this fan base has to kind of get pumped back into life. So they got a lot of work ahead of them, but right now, thus far, they're moving it right now.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that Jets fans were very excited about what they heard today, but there's not much they can say. I mean, tomorrow it'll be back to show me. You know, today was a good start.
Well, I think that's why it was important the presser wasn't as long and like everybody's like, okay. Okay, we hear you. All right, now go win. All right, go win, so we don't get laughed at everywhere we step ahead. Show our face with the Jets hat on.
Well, Willie, you mentioned Woody Johnson and how important this was for him to make the hire and be comfortable with the hire of Aaron Glenn and, of course, the GM Darren Mougey. Let's send it back out now to Florham Park. Our Janae Coakley is standing by with the Jets owner, Woody Johnson.
Woody,
yes.
You said these were the two guys you wanted.
Yes.
Why?
You just got a chance to see it a couple of minutes ago. But it's just the same thing. You know, when we deal with Darren, we interviewed 15 other candidates, all really good, but he just stood out for what we need at the New York Jets. He had the experience, he has the drive, he has the insight, I thought, in player selection. Very organized, but also that artistic touch. How do you really identify character? That's hard to do. Mm-hmm. And so he convinced us. I think we were all really so impressed by how he just has that sixth sense, and also he can look at all the numbers and organize a draft room and organize a board, which is very complicated. And you really, how do you harvest all the best opinions from scouts, mm-hmm. and whatever that other word was?
Mixed between scouts and coaches.
Yeah. Thinking too fast, but yeah, he has that ability, mm-hmm. and so. We felt that pairing with Aaron would be ideal, and he's a young guy. Mm-hmm. I said I won't say that, but we were very, very impressed with him.
And what was it about Aaron that stood out to you?
Everything, pretty much. You know, as a player, he's a first-round pick that I said
from the New York Jets.
For the New York Jets, that has maintained the rest of his life as a first-round pick. He was a total winner as a player. He was a total winner as a scout. He came in here. He wanted to start. They said that he didn't want to. He wanted to coach and not scout. And Parcells convinced him to be a great head coach. You have to be a scout. You have to go through that. So he did all those steps. But then he just took this team recently, the Lions, mm-hmm. and transformed it from pretty much a basket case into a world champion team. So he's done everything right. And I think he's a great leader, great teacher, likes to teach, wants to be a coach. And that's the key. Because it's a tough life. It really is.
Why do you know that you got it right this time?
At this stage, it's more of a gut feel. You know, I've been through all the numbers and all the checks and all of this and that. I've got to be convinced that these guys are going to be both great leaders. And that's what I am convinced, that they can do it.
And how excited are you for this franchise and for this team and for your fans and for everything with these two now at the helm?
I think the fans are going to be excited the way they hear. They're going to hear new voices, and they're going to be a unified voice from the New York Jets. And we want to have sustain our success. So, anyway, I'm really happy about this, and thank you for talking to you. It's always great.
It's always fun. Thank you, Woody.
Thank you.
All right, thanks to Janae and Woody. Final thoughts from an exciting, brand new day over at Florham Park.
Well, I think he said what I kind of anticipated, that he's done everything you can as an owner as far as doing it, listen to the analytics, talking to the right people. I think it was more of a gut check for him. I think he had the feeling in his stomach, and he did when it came to hiring Darren and obviously Aaron Glenn. I think what the Jets need to do moving forward is let the guys go to work. Right? Don't add more fuel to the headlines. Let these guys go to work. Let their work be the proof that they're moving in the right direction. They made the right hires. Because if you start implementing where is Aaron Rodgers going to go, what happens with Garrett Wilson, how they feel, and we start unlocking these stories that happened from the previous years, it gets muddy for these guys. These guys need a fair shot at this, and hopefully Woody and the powers that be allowed them to do so. So whatever stories happened or didn't happen, leave it alone. Move forward.
Well, I will say this. Woody Johnson did meet with all the reporters as well, and he said specifically about Aaron Rodgers, that is their decision. It's up to them. I'm staying out of that one, so that's a good sign as well. Willie, always great seeing you, brother.
Hey, man, you know I love you, Gil.
Hey, this is a fun day. Fun day. New day out in Florham Park for the New York Jets as they hire their 22nd head coach, Aaron Glenn, and new general manager, Darren Mougey. There's the picture. Mougey standing out above all else. What is he, 7.5 feet tall? Crazy.
Like whiskey up.
Much more coverage on SNY.TV and, of course, Honda Sports Night later. For Willie Colon, I'm Steve Gelbs. We'll see you soon.